Hi everybody, Brenna Kantner here with Nexus Youth and Family Services. I am bringing you our August Wellness Workshop, and we chose a topic that feels very relevant to what's going on right now, kind of the longer the pandemic goes on, and as Amador County potentially nears another shutdown, just think we all, as we start getting closer to school starting next week and distance learning, we all have a lot on our plates. And so I really wanted to bring you some different strategies to kind of improve the emotional well-being of both parents and of their children. I think that's important right now more than ever. So we're going to get started. So some parenting challenges that you might be experiencing during COVID-19. Please know that you are not alone in this. Burnout, right? As parents, you are having to manage kids 24/7, and they don't have any outlets of being at school and seeing their friends and maybe sports and things like that. And so one of the things that I'm hearing super frequently is the burnout of parents. With limited, not resources, but with limited activities and school and social contact and stress of everybody involved, we are seeing increased behavioral challenges, stress, fear, anxiety, having to be teachers, right? That education piece, the mental health and wellness of the whole family. There's a lot of challenges that are in front of everybody right now, and so it's important to know that you are not alone in it. So why this is an important conversation to have is really exactly what I started with. You're not alone in this, and really your kids aren't alone either, though we all feel like it, right? Life's coming at us and the changes are daily and it's so impactful. So being really mindful that self-compassion is important, and self-compassion has those three components of kind of recognizing that common humanity, that everyone's experiencing this, and though it impacts us differently, there's a lot of similarities as well. Being mindful and being kind to yourself, right? So talking to yourself the way that you would talk to a friend. So a self-compassion piece is really important. So you're going to learn some techniques about how to interact with your child or children in a different way that improves behaviors and lessens stress for everybody involved. So parent-child interaction therapy, we call it PCIT. It is a program that we have here at Nexus. So we're just going to talk about kind of some of the components of it. So it's a short-term specialized behavior management program designed for younger children that are experiencing behavioral or emotional difficulties, and it teaches caregivers to manage those difficult behaviors while increasing the positive behaviors and just overall reducing stress. That's really what's important here, is reducing stress is going to support everyone's mental health and wellness in your family. So I'm going to share with you, I'm going to do kind of a part 2. So this August Wellness Workshop is really part 1. So next month for September, we're going to have a part 2. So child-directed interactions are super, super important. And then next month, we're going to talk about some parent-directed interactions. So I'm really excited to share all of this information with you. So the child-directed interactions, caregivers are taught the pride skills, right? And that's what I'm going to be sharing with you today. So praising, reflecting, imitating, describing, and enjoyment, having fun. These are the skills that can help promote positive child behaviors. So praise. You want to appraise appropriate desired behavior, the things that you want to see more of. So the reasons you do this, it increases the desired behaviors. It lets your child know what you like that they're doing. It adds warmth to the relationship. It increases self-esteem. It models. Parents are models for their children. I will say that all day, every day. Parents are models for their children. What you do, the way that you respond to things, the way that you respond to the world around you, the way you respond to your children, that's how they learn. That's how they learn to interact with other people. So modeling those positive social behaviors, and it makes everybody feel good. The thing about praise in this context, it's important to say more than just a good job or a thank you, right? You want to say what you like that they're doing. So I've given a lot of examples here. It depends on, the graphic here, the ways to praise gives you different ways to praise based on maybe a problem behavior, such as dawdling or obeying or being destructive, right? So I like the way you're playing gently, right? Not just good job, but telling the child what you like that they're doing. Interrupting, the thank you for waiting patiently, right? I like when you're taking turns. Thank you for letting other people talk. Thank you for letting mom finish the conversation that I was having with dad. Right? There's all of the, thank you for sharing. There's all of these different ways to praise, but it's important to be really specific about it. And if your child has difficulty in one of these areas, right, it's important to watch for the opportunities to praise your child when they're behaving well, when they're doing the things that you like. So often we get caught up in the focus on what's bad or what we don't like, that we tend not to say what we do like. So, right, giving your child, like watching and paying attention to when, and catching them in the moment when they are sharing with their sibling or when they're using really good table manners, when they're finishing their dinner, when they're saying please and thank you, all of those things, right? Like you have to pay attention and look for opportunities to catch your child in those good moments, and praise them when they're doing something that you want to see more of. The second piece to those pride skills, we did P for praise, R for reflect. So you're going to reflect appropriate talk and speech. Reasons for this, right? I think sharing the reasons for doing this is important. It helps you kind of understand where it's coming from. So this allows the child to lead the conversation. That's important. That's important for kids to feel that they have some power and control. It shows the child that you're listening and that you understand what they're saying. It can help improve the child's speech. It improves communication. It can calm anxious children. And it's a really cool, non-critical way of correcting the child and improving speech and communication, right? So one of the examples is here that I wrote it down, like I drew a blue flower, right? Like that, the kind of slurring or turning the R's into W's, those typical speech patterns that we'll see. And you as the parent know what your child is saying, and so you can say, yes, you drew a blue flower, right? You're not necessarily going to say, well, that's not how you say it, right? It's a way of correcting the child in a way that's not critical, and it can help them hear the right way to say it. Another example, I did it all by myself. Yes, you did it all by yourself, right? It's just reflecting and letting them guide the conversation. There's a couple more examples here, but reflecting that speech. If they say, I'm going to make a dragon, right? You're going to make a dragon. It's literally just reflecting the words they're using during play or during everyday life. So the really cool thing about these skills, actually, I should say, you can use this during like a special playtime, like if you want to practice, and I'll share some toys and ideas for you at the end of this, towards the end of the workshop today, because PCIT, it's really important to set yourself and your child up for success. So if you want to create an environment where you can practice these skills, you're going to want to use like these child-directed interactions, and start with the suggested toy list that we talk about, and I will share more about that. But you can use this in day-to-day life when you're hearing about what they did at school or at daycare, anything, if they had a dream that they're telling you about. You really can use these skills all day, every day. So the I is for imitate. So you're going to imitate appropriate play. The reasons for this: it helps the child feel important. It shows approval of what they're doing. It models and increases those desired behaviors. And it increases the child's imitation of what you do, right? Modeling. It's all about modeling. So for instance, if you are playing, the parent can say, I'm going to tap the blocks quietly, just like you. And you kind of get a praise in there and the imitation, right? You can say, you're building a house out of the Legos. I'm going to build a house out of the Legos. Right? It's really just verbally expressing the imitation of what they're doing. Right. So the D is for describe. So you're going to describe appropriate behavior. The reasons for this: it increases concentration and attention and to the activity, but it can also just overall increase attention span over time. It can slow down an active child. So if you have a kid that bounces between 27 activities in the span of 30 minutes, describing the behaviors can keep them engaged in the activity. It teaches vocabulary, shows modeling. It can increase the child's mindfulness, and then they're paying attention to what they're doing, and like that slowing down, and maintains their interest. So again, I'm using examples in the context of play because ultimately that's how kids learn, and that's how they interact, is with the social connection with other people, whether it be their peers or adults in their life. So this is, again, the parent just making statements, describing what their child is doing. So you're putting the toys back one by one. You are putting the blue block on the red block, right? And that, again, these are learning opportunities. So if you have a kiddo that's learning colors, right, you're modeling that too, that you are putting the blue block on the red block. Another way to imitate and reflect, right? You can put the blue block on the red block. Or if they're saying the colors incorrectly, like I'm putting the yellow block on the green block, but it's a blue block on a green block, you can say, yeah, you're putting the blue block on the green block, right? Instead of saying, that's not yellow, that's blue, right? It's just kind of a different way of sharing the information. Last but not least, the E is for enjoy and have fun. Again, the reasons for all of this really come down to demonstrating interest in the child, modeling positive emotions, increasing the child's interest, creating warmth in the relationship, and reinforcing those desired behaviors. Right, this can look like smiles, eye contact, the arm around your kiddo, rubbing the back, a warm voice, laughing, clapping, just those signs that they can visibly see that you're enjoying your time spent with them. And verbally, you can say, I'm having so much fun with you. These components are really important, and overall, they do decrease stress in everybody involved, and they work. These tools work really well. I'm excited for you to implement some of them. So I have lots more to share with you. Starting with this, I found this graphic and I just thought it was a really cool thing to share. When it's phrased like this, right? Statements for kids that build self-esteem and that lower self-esteem, right? We want kids to have good self-esteem for so many reasons. So the statements that, like I was just saying, like, no, that's not yellow, that's blue, right? You can correct in a non-critical way that teaches and models, right? Like, you're working really hard to figure this out on your own versus, no, it's not like that. Let me show you how to do it, right? That you're working hard to figure it out on your own. You can add in, like, let me know if you'd like help, right? Kids want to learn and figure it out on their own. They're trying to figure out how to navigate their worlds. Build self-esteem. You really want to try that. I'm going to stay nearby and help you stay safe versus you're too young to do that or you're too little to do that. You're still trying even though it's hard, right? Versus it's not a big deal. Like, there's no reason to be frustrated about it. Especially right now, there's a lot of reason to be frustrated about a lot of things, right? And I think compassion for yourself and compassion for your children is so important right now, because life is just not normal, right? It's not what we expect. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that as, school is supposed to start. And for the most part, like, kids like school. They like their friends. They like their teachers. They don't want to stay home and learn on a computer. So there's a lot happening for everybody, and that impact is so different for everybody. Stress is so subjective and relative. So working with your kids and working hard on kind of changing your mindset in order to help build their self-esteem and model appropriate behaviors. So these are just some examples. Overall, all of these skills help build self-esteem, but I wanted to share kind of like a side-by-side, do this, not that kind of thing. All right, so here's kind of some tips on how to ignore inappropriate behavior, unless it's destructive or dangerous, right? So there's some things that kids do that, like, it's funny, right? Like, even though we're like, oh, don't do that. But it's important if it's inappropriate behavior. There's a technique called active ignoring. And how you do it is kind of, you avoid looking at the kiddo, you avoid smiling, frowning, right? It's kind of being silent, being consistent. If it's consistently an inappropriate behavior, like, you have to ignore it every time. And you can expect behavior to increase at first. Again, the reasons around this are, instead of drawing attention to the behavior that you are not wanting to see, these pride skills, right, help increase the good behaviors that you do want to see. So drawing attention to good behaviors and limiting attention to the bad behaviors. So this ignoring inappropriate behavior helps the child notice the difference between your responses to good behavior and bad behavior and what the difference looks like. It helps you stay calm as a parent. It is all about picking your battles, right? One of the really good techniques taught in PCIT is choices, right? So don't get in a fight with your child around wearing a jacket, right? Wearing a jacket when it's rainy and cold out, not an option, but they do have a choice between the red jacket and the blue jacket, right? And so it's about changing the way that you're talking, right? Going to bed is not an option, right? They need to go to bed, but you can give some control around that of, you have two choices. I can take you upstairs, or you can go upstairs on your own, right? Like the options are going to bed. So it helps you pick your battles, and it helps you stay calm, and it avoids increasing the attention-seeking behavior, because you're removing your attention from that inappropriate behavior. So for example, if you're playing, you could look at your own toys, you could talk about your own play, you're avoiding eye contact, you're kind of shifting your body language. You can introduce a new activity, right? There's lots of ways to do this, but ignoring is a really strong technique in decreasing the inappropriate or unwanted behaviors. Okay, so this list of what to avoid is obviously not something that's realistic 100% of the time because you're a parent and they're a child. So it's important to just recognize and like be mindful around this. So especially like if you're playing or there's a time where you can really set aside. I realize there are times as a parent where you have to ask questions or give a command. But I think you can limit around what that looks like and how you do it. And so some things to avoid: giving commands, right? It doesn't allow the child to lead. It can create power struggles and it can create conflict. Like I said, next month I'm going to be sharing some parent-directed activities and ways to intervene that include being direct about how you're interacting. So as it relates to these child-directed interactions where you really can allow your child some freedom, giving commands as something to avoid, asking questions. It can control the conversation. It can seem maybe like you're disagreeing. It can maybe even seem like it can increase like feelings of frustration or maybe even feelings of failure. Criticizing, right? Kind of like what I said, even if you're not meaning to, that like it's not blue or not yellow, it's blue, the blocks, right? It doesn't provide direction. It focuses attention on negative behavior. It can increase negative behaviors, and it doesn't feel good, right? There's different ways to correct without criticizing. So avoid using words like no, don't, stop, quit, or not. A lot of times, again, we focus on the negatives. And so if your kiddo is running down the hallway, our reaction a lot of times is stop doing that, like stop running down the hallway, rather than shifting that focus to something more positive, like please walk down the hallway. If a kid's jumping on the couch, don't jump on the couch. We want to shift that to please put your bottom on the couch or please jump on the floor, right? You want to give, especially defiant kids, first of all, it's kind of fun annoying parents sometimes, right? They see that you're bugged by what they're doing and it might increase their behaviors. So picking your battles. But kids, they have like a one-track mind. And so if you are only saying what not to do, that's what's in their head. So giving defiant kids an alternative of what you want them to do as opposed to what you want them to stop doing can be really powerful. Okay, so like I talked about, so suggested toys for if you're going to practice this, you can practice these kinds of things all day, every day. But if you want really focused time to practice, it's really great to do it while playing. But it is important to do it with toys that don't really have rules around them. For example, like you don't want to use a board game because there are rules and there's certain things that have to be done, and it is really limiting to the conversation that you can have. If you're using like a board game or card game or even a book, right? If a kiddo's having a hard time reading, like reading's great quality time, but for PCAT and practicing those tools, if a kiddo's reading a book, you can totally describe like, great job, like you're doing a really good job figuring out the words. Like there's ways you can do it. But for PCAT, it's about using creative constructional type of toys like Legos, Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head, those like farm animals, play food, a dollhouse, crayons, or markers, colored pencils, paper, things, trying to avoid paints because there's rules, right? There's rules around painting, so it doesn't end up everywhere. Lincoln Logs, there's all Mega Blocks. There's so many different kinds of those like creative constructional type of toys. So there's a whole list here that I've included. And I also gave here kind of a walkthrough and an example of how to actively ignore, how to redirect certain behaviors to actively ignore. Yeah. So like I was talking before, the coronavirus outbreak has completely changed our lives. Whether it's our just day-to-day lives of working from home, or that you've lost a job, or your kids are at home and they have distance learning, right? We can feel anxious, sad, bored, worried, depressed, lonely, all of those things. So we might need some extra help or support. And another thing I will say all day long, it's okay not to be okay. It's okay to be feeling stressed and scared and worried, or whatever you're feeling. Your feelings right now are valid simply because you feel them. And what works for each of us will depend on our specific situations. And so some resources, I've shared these before, but managing stress for your health, practicing mindfulness, exercising, back to basics, getting enough sleep, eating nutritious food, taking a break from the news, taking a break from social media, getting your COVID-related information from trusted, reliable sources, not Facebook. And at the end of the day, reaching out to a mental health professional if you're struggling. If you need help with basic needs, call us and ask us. We have resources. We all need food, shelter, money to meet our needs. And there's resources online related to help and support specifically related to COVID. And Nexus has a lot of resources. I have a whole page about resources coming up here. But there's support, and there's one of the great things about Amador County is the community. And I've really seen a lot of people come together to support. And so ask for help, whether it's calling me, calling a friend, calling a church, reach out. Routines during this time, super important. It's important to get up, to get dressed, even if you have to stay home, like getting up and getting dressed and changing out of your pajamas, maybe throwing some makeup on, doing your hair, having family meals. Routines are really important. And even if you have to adjust your routine, like if you used to get up and go to the gym and then go to work, right? Like get up and go for a walk. You have to do what you can with what you have. Make sure you're staying connected to people that are supportive for you. Call, text, FaceTime. I know social distancing, expectations are in place, but it's important to nurture social connections. Giving and getting help, just call and check in with your people. Check in with a neighbor, check in with an aunt, an uncle. Just check in with people and accept the help and accept getting checked in with if you're needing it. So here's kind of another way to, some more ways to support kids during COVID-19, because parenting is hard, and parenting in a pandemic is even harder. It's like parenting on hard mode, and everyone needs a little extra support. So again, predictable routines, age-appropriate chores, those are things that can actually help kids feel more settled. So hunting for the good, right? We tend to focus on the negative, and so recognizing what's good and saying it is important. Moving and playing, those getting up, doing an obstacle course with what you have, stretching, throwing a ball, turning on music and doing a dance party. Nexus, our YouTube page, has a ton of fun activities that are like the DIY activities with stuff that you have just around your home. Hugs. I know that sounds weird, but like hugs literally change brain chemicals. Slowing down, rest, taking breaks if you need it, saying I'm sorry, owning it, modeling for your kids. Lots of resources here. All kinds of different resources, from suicide prevention, Trevor Project for LGBTQ support, domestic violence hotline, friendship line for adults 60 and up, lots of resources and hotlines here that I've included. So we're recapping here. Redirecting bad behavior, increasing creative play, directing your attention to reinforce those good behaviors and discourage the ones you don't want to see any more of or to limit them. Using rewards and privileges can reinforce good behaviors. Knowing when not to respond. Knowing when, like Dr. Faye said, knowing when to say, I need to deal with this, but I'm also really frustrated right now and I need a break. All of those things are signs of strength. They're signs of modeling for your kids. Using timeouts, taking care of yourself. Self-care is so important. Getting back to basics, eating healthy, exercise, getting enough sleep, finding ways to decompress. And remember to just breathe and know you're not alone. So here are some more resources. First of all, I've included, so that first video I shared from Love and Logic, their YouTube page is awesome. They have videos on power struggles over homework, sibling rivalry, how to help your kids cope with stress. They have so many videos and they've really started gearing some of those videos to how to manage what's going on right now with current circumstances. Parent-child interaction therapy. If you need help, ask. So we actually have parent-child interaction therapy where here offered at Nexus for parents and children ages 2 to 7, where you as the parent and your child can be in a room and get one-on-one coaching in the moment while learning these skills. So if you're needing more support and more help in these skills and you feel like this would be a really good fit and you want more information and support, ask us, call me. Findyourwords.org is a really great resource to support parents in having conversations with kids about emotional and mental wellness. And we have parenting education courses coming up here at Nexus. There's a whole summer series that's starting actually in a few days this week on August 13th. And that's going to be held twice a week through September 3rd. There's in-person and Zoom. And then we have some one-day parenting classes coming up here too for different age ranges for your children. So if you're interested in those parenting classes, give Emma a call. Her phone number is listed here. And then my information, if you're interested in parent-child interaction therapy, is listed here. Thank you so much for watching, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have a lot of good resources, a lot more information coming. And like I said, you'll have a part 2 of some of those PCIT skills coming at you early September. So I'm excited to keep sharing that with you, and I look forward to talking to you. If you have any questions, give me a call. Take care, stay well, and stay healthy.